Welcome back to my channel. I'm Joe with Smokin Joe's Pit Barbecue. On today's video, I'm going to show you how to cook on an offset smoker. Now, whether you've done it before or not, or you're just getting into it, maybe you're a little bit nervous, this is the video for you. So Old Country Barbecue Pits just came out with a brand new offset. It's got an insulated firebox, removable baffle, extended stack, and I cannot wait to show it to you. Stay tuned. All right, first things first, let's get our Clean Space Project gloves on. So I've been using these nitrile gloves from Clean Space Project for a very long time, and I highly recommend them. Check out the links below if you guys are interested. All right, so I'm gonna be smoking a pork butt on my brand new Old Country Generation 2 offset smoker. I'm just gonna take this out of the package. So I'm starting with a 7-pound pork butt. Now, if you've never cooked on an offset smoker, or you got a brand new offset smoker you've never cooked on before, I highly recommend that you start with a pork butt. Number one, they're inexpensive. Number two, they are really hard to mess up. I mean, you can mess it up if you tried, but these are really forgiving. So as far as the seasoning that I'm using on this pork butt, I'm gonna be using this Reaper seasoning from Blazing Star. This guy is a cool dude. It's a veteran-owned business. Check them out at the link below. This rub right here out of the bottle is fantastic. Has a little bit of heat, little bit of sweet, and I think it's gonna be fantastic on this pork butt. So I'm going to apply quite a bit of this seasoning. Now, I'm not applying any binder, but you can if you want. I normally use a mustard binder, but the surface on this pork butt is pretty moist, so I do not need a binder. Make sure you apply enough seasoning. Again, this is a big piece of meat, 7 pounds, so you cannot over season this. And last but not least, I'm going to season this fat cap. Shake up the container. Look at that. Really simple, guys. Do not overcomplicate this. All right, got this nicely seasoned up. Let's head outside and fire up that pit. Stay tuned. All right, so here's my brand new Old Country Barbecue Pits Generation 2 offset smoker. As you can see, I've got these really nice 3-inch barbecue gauges. Now, it does have the option to add one right here in the center as well, so I might eventually get a smaller gauge just so I can see what the temperature is on the top grate. So I want to show you a couple of things before I light this up. I'm just going to open up this door. Now, this smoker is constructed of 1/4-inch steel. As you can see right here, it's all welded construction. Now, the bottom grate is 100% removable. So I'm going to slide this out and show you a couple of things. So the only thing I've done to this smoker is wash it from the inside and outside. Just washed it with regular old soap and water. So a couple of new things that Old Country Barbecue Pits did on this Generation 2 smoker is that you do have a removable baffle and this tuning plate as well. Now I'm going to take these out to show you that you can cook 100% without these baffles and this tuning plate right here. But as an option, you can definitely leave this in if you want to direct the heat more towards the left side of the smoker. But for this cook, I'm going to take them out. All right, I'm going to reinstall the bottom grate. So another upgrade that Old Country made was on this pit, the stack is actually extended to 32 3/4 of an inch. Now, I've seen a lot of people on YouTube modify their Old Country barbecue pits, and this one right here, you will not have to modify whatsoever. You also have a really nice exhaust collector right there. Now, that's something you normally see on these really large offset pits, but again, Old Country added that to this barbecue pit right here. So the outside dimensions on this barbecue pit are 26 inches wide by 69 inches long, and the height total is 70 inches. So one of the biggest upgrades that Old Country made on this pit right here is they designed an insulated firebox, as you can see, and this firebox is huge. Now, inside the firebox, you do have this grate right here that is removable. You do have the option to light your fire on the base of the firebox or on top of this plate. I'm going to take this off because I like to build a nice coal bed on the bottom. Leaving that plate in there is 100% optional. You will get a little bit more oxygen on the bottom of your logs, but again, I like to build a coal bed on the inside of the firebox itself. Now, for this cook, I'm going to be using Gourmet Wood Products Post Oak. Now, you can pick up both the pit and these splits from Gourmet Wood Products at Academy Sports and Outdoors. So I'm just going to grab a couple of splits. All right, so I'm going to lay 2 splits of wood, just like this. Now, since this is an insulated firebox, you don't need to load 6 or 7 splits of wood. Okay, start small. Again, I'm using 2 small splits and then 1 more on top just to light the pit. All right, so I'm going to be lighting up my pit with my grill gun from Grill Blazer. Check them out at the link below. Here we go. All right, just like that, those splits are lit. I'm going to give this about 30 minutes and I'll bring you guys right back. All right, so the pit's been warming up for about 30 minutes. Now, I do want to show you guys my setup here. As you can see, I do have the door cracked a couple of inches. Now, I'm at 3,800 feet above sea level, and you do have some vents on the door, but because I'm at 3,800 feet above sea level, those vents are not sufficient enough to keep that fire going. So nothing wrong with that, just pop your door open. I do it on my offsets all the time. In fact, I cook with all of my smokers with the door partially open just like this. Now, as you can see, both gauges are running at about 275 degrees. Now, earlier, this gauge right here was running about 275, and this one was running at 250. So all I did to control that is close my exhaust stack about halfway, and that equalized the temperatures. Now, if you want to cook a little bit cooler on the right side of the smoker, open your stack all the way, and that's going to give you about 20 degrees cooler on the right side than the left side. But if you want to equalize your temperatures again, just close your exhaust stack a little bit, and that will start to raise the temperature on the right hand side, and you can control your temperatures with the exhaust stack itself. All right, so both gauges are exactly the same right now. I want to smoke this pork butt at 275 degrees, and we are almost there, so I'm going to go ahead and load up the pork butt. And here she is right here. Look at that beautiful color from that rub. So I'm going to place this pork butt right smack in the middle of the grate right here. I'm going to shut the door down. We'll check on this pork butt in a couple of hours. Stay tuned. All right, guys, so it's been 2.5 hours, and I did use the 3 splits that I started the pit with for an entire hour. Then I dropped one about 4x4 split of wood into the firebox, and that temperature came up really high, proving that you do not need to add a ton of wood to that firebox because it's insulated and it's extremely efficient. So I'm just going to add this one small split. You can see the temperature right now is at 225, and we'll see what this does to the temperature. So another 30 seconds, we're quickly approaching 250 degrees, but before this hits 275, I do want to take a look at the pork butt. Now, I have not opened this door. This is the first time I'm going to look at it, and that's one important thing, is when you're smoking, guys, you do not have to open up this door and keep opening and checking whatever it is that you're cooking. So this is the very first time I open it. And there's our pork butt. All right, so 2.5 hours into the cook, I'm going to go ahead and spritz this with apple cider vinegar and water, mix at 50-50. All right, I'm going to close the door so we don't lose a ton of heat. All right, so I'm going to let the temperature go back up to 275. We're going to cook this pork butt for 2 more hours, so it'll be a total of 4.5 hours. Then I'll come outside and wrap it up. Stay tuned. All right, so it's been 5 hours, and our pit has been rocking at 275 degrees. Now, I just put in 2 very small splits of wood, so the temperature did go up a little bit. We're sitting at about 285 on this side, but again, it will settle down once that split of wood starts to burn down as well. So let's take a look at our pork butt. So that pork butt's got a really nice color, almost like a dark cherry red color, and we're sitting at 165, which is good enough for me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap this up in some foil. So here's our pork butt. Remember, this wasn't a very large pork butt. Normally I'll cook these big old 12 pounders, but this one was only 7 pounds. So I'm going to wrap it up tightly in foil. I'm not adding any liquids or anything to the foil wrap. Just wrap it really nice and tight. Pop it back inside the smoker. All right, back in the pit she goes. All right, so I'm looking for a final temperature of 205 degrees, but I do want the internal temperature of this pork butt to sit over 200 degrees for at least 30 minutes. That way it's nice and tender. So once the pork butt hits about 195 degrees, I'm going to throw on a couple of potatoes because we are going to make ourselves a loaded potato with some pulled pork, and I'll bring you guys back at that point. Stay tuned. All right, so I just checked the temperature of our pork butt, and we're sitting at 190 degrees, so I'm going to go ahead and load up our potatoes. Now, real simple process. I just washed the potatoes, wrapped it tightly in foil. No butter, no salt, no nothing. Just tightly wrapped in some foil. So I'm going to place these potatoes on the top rack. Now, it is a little bit hotter up here. Now, it should only take about an hour to get these potatoes ready. So I'm looking for an internal temperature of 200 degrees on our potatoes. That's the internal temperature that I use on my food truck, and the potatoes are perfect every single time. So next time you see me, we'll be inside, we'll pull that pork butt and make our loaded potato. Stay tuned. All right, so the pork butt is ready, and the total cook time was 8.5 hours, and it has been resting for about 30 minutes right here on my counter, but it's still gonna be really hot. So I'm just gonna take it out of the foil. It smells absolutely delicious. So one thing I like to do is use the bone to pull the pork or to chop it, whatever you want to call it. It's still really hot, so I'm going to wrap my napkin around this bone right here. Just go to town on it. Look at that. Still steaming hot. Now we didn't trim any fat off of this, but look at that smoke ring and that color coming out of that rub. I'm going to add some more of this Blazing Star Reaper rub. Oh yeah, buddy. Alright, so I'm just going to move this pulled pork aside, grab my baked potato that again only took 1 hour to hit 200 degrees internal. Look at that. Again, no butter, no salt, no nothing added to the potato. Just wash it off, wrap it in foil, and toss them in the smoker. So I'm going to cut this baby in half. I'm going to spread it open. Cut that potato a little bit, but look at that, it is absolutely perfect. Gotta have some butter. Enough butter. That's gonna melt really fast because this potato is hot. Gonna add some Himalayan salt. Gotta have the black pepper. I'm also gonna add a little bit of the Blazing Star seasoning. Next, I have a fistful of our pulled pork. Look at that. Got some cheddar cheese. A little bit more cheddar cheese. Sour cream right over the top. Sprinkle in some chives. And there we have it. A Texas tater with pulled pork. Let's give this pulled pork a try. All right, before I give this pulled pork a try, I do want to say that Old Country pit ran absolutely amazing. Very little wood was used because of that insulated firebox. The temperatures were consistent across the grates. I am really happy with that pit. In fact, I've been recommending that pit as an entry-level pit for a lot of people. But again, this G2 model comes with a lot of upgrades that I mentioned earlier. All right, so first I'm gonna try the pulled pork by itself. Look at that, got some bark in there. See how smoky this is. Here we go. I am loving the little bit of kick on this spice. It is absolutely delicious. Man, that pulled pork with that rub, that post-oak smoke flavor is absolutely delicious. Now let's give this Texas tater a try. Look at that bad boy. Now that's a tater right there. Get some of the potatoes, some of that pulled pork in there, some of those chives, a little bit of that sour cream. Yeah, buddy. This is absolutely amazing. So I want to thank Old Country Barbecue Pits for sponsoring today's video. You guys did an amazing job with this offset smoker. And I got to tell you, that insulated firebox, man, I use very little wood, and it is because of that insulated firebox. So you do not need to add a ton of wood to operate that pit at even 275 degrees. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If this is your first time to my channel, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. And if you enjoyed this video, give me a thumbs up. Until next time, Joe with Smokin Joe's Pit Barbecue. See ya.